Hey, what's going on, guys? Kitsune TCG here, back with another video. Today we're going to switch it up a little bit. I know normally I have been looking at like current format decks, just to kind of go along with the, modern game. But I thought we'd kind of take a step back and, look at some past formats. And I definitely will kind of do this for, a few more for Edison, obviously, because there is such a wide range of playable decks. And, to a similar extent for GOAT, but I definitely kind of will show off a few decks there. Obviously with Konami essentially legitimizing past formats, we definitely have had the ability to, see a lot more stores run events, officially, with like official prize support and things like that. So, with those popping up more and more, it is definitely an option for a lot of people to play, especially if maybe they're not like satisfied with like the current format. I know obviously Kashtira is a very divisive deck right now, so maybe for a lot of people it's not something that they want to play against, and would like to look back at like kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh got to where it is, and especially with Edison being so wide, so diverse, and just such a beloved format with really just a lot of playability, and you're never really kind of out of a game in Edison. It's it's kind of just that time period of Yu-Gi-Oh where it was obviously much slower, and it definitely just kind of like provides just a little bit of a look back at like how things were. So just kind of hopping into it today. I know I in the past have done a Light Swarm deck profile, and I could definitely needed to do an updated version of that, but my other favorite deck from that format would obviously have to be Gladiator Beast. At the time when Edison was taking place, the Gladiator Beast took 2 of the top 16 spots, so it was definitely a pretty strong deck. Nowadays, it's definitely fallen out a little bit in favor. I wouldn't say that it be considered what you would say tier 1, but it is definitely a very strong deck. Obviously, with having like 13 years passed since the event, we've definitely had the ability to kind of solve that format a little bit more. So decks that weren't exactly even thought of at the time are now some of the strongest decks. So kind of hopping into it, it's kind of what you would expect if you're familiar at all with Gladiator Beast. You are running the 3 Prisma to kind of name swap with the Bestiari or Laquarius, and that's just obviously going to help you go into any of your fusion plays. 3 Test Tiger, obviously with this, as long as you control a Gladiator Beast, you can get this on the board and swap it out for any other name that you need. Bestiari at the time is limited, so you are only able to run the 1, which you obviously need to include because it is obviously the way that you're going into your Geyserus, but also just one of your best ones overall. And then you're just kind of from there playing like a few different names. Like we have the 2 Darius, the 2 Laquari, the 1 Equesti, the 1 Mermello, the 1 Retinari, and the 1 Samnite, which may seem a little bit weird. It's not a very particularly powerful one, but because you are kind of going with the 1 Rescue Cat, if you've maybe gone through 1 or 2 of the Test Tigers, you do definitely have like an additional target because it is a level 3 beast. And obviously with Rescue Cat, this is obviously its kind of latest errata with, the negating the effects. So, with these guys not being once per turn, it is actually a way for you to kind of go into, a Bestiari, whatever. You can kind of get into 2 names that kind of help you go from there. So Rescue Cat is definitely, if that's something that you see, it's it's what you're gonna slap down as quickly as you can. It'll definitely help you start your plays there. Now, because of the deck having a lot of ways to go into the different names, you're not too often needing to search out a different one, so just running 2 of the Proving Ground I think is fine. You could maybe even cut it down to 1. I think some people usually are just playing that just to make sure that they're seeing all their names, but for right now I've been liking having 2 in the deck. 3 Book of Moon. This is obviously going to either be a way that you can kind of push into something. Obviously all these guys need to attack to get a lot of their tag out effects, so being able to book something to be able to attack into it, or just to protect a guy. I mean, obviously with this deck, and with how this format functions, it's a lot slower. you're needing time to build up, 2-3 names to go into your fusions. So for something like that, you just definitely need to kind of protect a monster every now and then. Obviously, Book of Moon is one of the best ways of doing that. You're essentially playing like a 38 card list by running 3 Upstart Goblin. I mean, it's definitely crazy to think that this card was at 3 for such a long time, but here it is. You want to include it. Giving your opponent 1,000 life points doesn't really matter when it helps you advance your game state and eventually win. So running 3 of is pretty much a must as long as you can afford to. Which, I mean, it's 3 free cards essentially, so you definitely can. And then from there, you are running just 1 MST. Obviously, it's limited at this time, so that's all you can run. And sometimes it's just a really handy tool, and that's kind of what the next 2 cards as well for, like Cold Wave and Heavy Storm. Just being able to clear your, something in your opponent's back row, once you feel like you're able to make a push. You obviously don't want to get hit with a lot of traps, and there definitely are quite a lot in this format. Just some form of like monster effect negation is obviously going to be really important. So kind of having the 2 War Chariot. You can maybe, throw in a 3rd one if you need, but I think 2 is probably a pretty good amount, especially for, having essentially 38 cards. So 2 is a pretty good amount for that. Trap Stun is just another card as well. If you're ready to make a push, anything like that, you can just basically flip this up and ensure that all your plays will go through for the rest of the turn. 2 Bottomless, again, another kind of thing where it's just kind of a defensive card. Obviously, you're able to, blink a, probably a pretty important monster for your opponent, and, hopefully protect one of your guys. And that's going to be the same thing with, like, Dimensional Prison, again, just being able to make sure that they're not able to, take out one of your guys. It's not really such a big deal, when it comes to, like, maybe attacking you directly. Obviously, if you're in a situation like that, it could be, already not a very good situation for you. 2 Starlight Road. I think you need to run at least 2 just because there are several cards out there in the format that can destroy a few more than 2. So being able to run this and negate it and get a free Stardust Dragon, that is obviously going to be a pretty good card. 1 Mirror Force, and the rest of these are obviously limited in this format as well, so, 1 Mirror Force, also just another really good way to, ensure that you can take out a few of your opponent's monsters and protect some of your guys. 1 Solemn Judgment, just being able to have an additional kind of, like, negate can sometimes be really important, and the life point cost usually doesn't end up mattering too much. 1 Torrential Tribute, and then finally the last, the Call of a Haunted. This is just obviously another way for you to get back a name as well if you need it, just so you can kind of go into your plays. Your extra deck, it's really only 6 cards, essentially. You are just running the 2 Herculenos, the 3 Geyserus, and then the 1 Chimera Tech. This is obviously going to be, whenever you side into, like, Cyber Dragon, or, you can even use your opponent's Cyber Dragon. So it really just kind of depends, but, with obviously like a few machine decks and stuff like that running around in the format, this is obviously a really good way to just take out a lot of your opponent's board. And these are obviously going to be your kind of like main guys to go into to, do some damage, put up some negates, things like that. The rest of the deck, and with the extra deck, obviously this format more than any, your extra deck is kind of like a toolbox. You're going to see these kind of run in every deck that you'd play in Edison. And that's just because, they're the best cards in the game, get the point at this point in the game. And because you are running like Mind Control and Brain Control in the side deck, sometimes you are able to steal a few tuners to kind of go into, which is why you want to play like several of a few different levels. So, we've got the level 5 in Catester, you've got a few level 6s in YuGiOh and Bryonic, a few level 7s in Black Rose and Armor Master, and then from there, obviously, these 2 are mainly in here, obviously, for Starlight Road, but, sometimes you can hard make them, and then, like Colossal Fighter and Thought Ruler. Again, you just want to have a few different options, just because, with Mind Control and Brain Control obviously being pre-errata, you're not having to worry about a normal summoned or set monster. You can just take anything and, synchro away from there, so these are definitely some important ones that, if you know your opponent's playing a synchro strategy, you can definitely bring those in and kind of use that to your advantage. But yeah, for the side deck, you are running the 2 Cyber Dragon. Obviously, this is going to be a pretty crucial card. It's at 2, so that's obviously all you can play. But yeah, coming into this, game 2, game 3, if you're going second, just kind of an easy way to get a name on board. And sometimes you can obviously use it to kind of get a few of your opponent's monsters off the board. 2 YuGiOh, just kind of preventing anybody from searching to their hand is obviously going to always be pretty important. 2 Smashing Grounds, most things at this point in time don't have like protection against destruction, so being able to get rid of like a big threat off the board is pretty important sometimes. A Dimensional Fissure is kind of interesting in this deck because when they fuse, they just obviously get shuffled back into the deck, so you wouldn't be losing them because they wouldn't be banished, so obviously you want to make sure that they're not being destroyed by battle, things like that. But yeah, something like this could definitely be, it's of more hindrance to your opponent, so kind of siding that is a pretty interesting play. Like I said, the 1 Mind Control, the 1 Brain Control. And then, from there, just kind of a few, like, traps that can help you if you're going first. Pulling the Rug is obviously a pretty good one, to prevent a effect activation. And Dark Bribe, just, again, kind of more free spell trap negate, letting them draw a card is, it's a pretty decent trade-off if you're hitting a very, crucial card. And then, Trap Dust Shoot. This is obviously one that you're going to see a whole lot in this format. And it's just a really good card. I mean, you're essentially able to steal, the best monster in your opponent's hand going first. So, yeah, I mean, overall, it's a really fun deck. It's a really fun format. I think a lot of people should definitely give it a try. Like I said, I have a Blight Swarm deck profile on the channel as well that you should definitely check out. I definitely need to update it, but I mean, it's not like there's any new cards for it or anything like that, so it just kind of becomes a little bit of like tech choices and like what you prefer. So let me know down in the comments below, like what deck you play in Edison, or what you think, or we'll kind of go from there. And let me know if maybe there's a deck profile you would like me to cover, and I can definitely see about that. I will see y'all next time. Thank you.